president has plenary authority.
Stephen? Stephen? Hey, Stephen, can you hear me?
Answer the question, Stephen. Stephen. Stephen, answer the question. Stephen! Stephen! Answer the question, Stephen! Stephen! Stephen, answer the question! Stephen!
I just saw a video of Stephen Miller just saying that the president has plenary authority, and then he pretended like he was frozen on CNN. And then CNN just pretended it was an audio mistake. What do you mean you're saying the president has plenary authority? What do you mean by that?
I just feel like we don't need to be making a mountain out of every molehill here. You know what I mean? Now, did world's angriest munchkin Stephen Miller try to go on CNN and claim that the president has plenary authority? Yes, he did. And is that kind of scary? Sure. But I think if you put his statement in the broader context of things, it's clear that what Minnie Miller meant here was the president has the authority to stick his plenary inside Tiny Steve's wife absolutely anytime he wants to, as long as Squatty Steven gets to watch from the child-sized chair in the corner of the bedroom. Now, clearly, the president is never going to do this. There hasn't been a dingle in that diminutive little dangle since like 2003. The heart may be willing, but the flesh is currently undergoing a slow and painful chronic heart failure. I mean, think about it. There's no way Eensy Stevie meant that the president's power is absolute and unchecked when pretty much anybody can stick their plenary inside Stephen Miller's wife as long as he gets to watch from the child-sized chair in the corner of the bedroom. And I do mean anybody. Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Steve Bannon after he's had his daily 5 gallons of whiskey, the 6 to 8 dudes hanging outside the Home Depot who speak limited English but have made it pretty clear that they're down for a good time as long as they get paid.
You ever wonder what happens when a high school troll grows up and gets access to federal power? You get Stephen Miller. And this man didn't just whisper in Trump's ear. He wrote the whole damn playbook. Stephen Miller isn't just some advisor. He's the author behind Trump's most cruel, racist, and authoritarian politics. And he did it quietly, in a suit, all while pretending that it was about national security. You remember the Muslim ban? That was Miller. Family separation at the border? That was Miller. Trying to strip citizenship from immigrants legally living here? Yep, Miller. He's the reason zero tolerance became a government slogan. The man crafted policy like it was fan fiction for fascists. And you want to talk about connections? Stephen Miller was mentored by Richard Spencer, the actual white nationalist who coined the term alt-right. They went to Duke together, and Miller invited him to campus. Let that sink in. The dude writing U.S. immigration policy was once boosted by a literal neo-Nazi. And don't think he disappeared when Trump left the first time. He started a legal group called America First Legal, designed to sue the government every single time it tried to be decent. Trying to stop DEI programs? That's Miller. Attacking asylum protections? That's Miller. Lawsuits to block civil rights policies under the radar? Also Miller. And the scariest part is that he's not a loudmouth. He's a strategist. He's not tweeting insults. He's writing executive orders. He learned that power isn't about being liked. It's about embedding your ideology so deep within the system that even after you're gone, your fingerprints stay on the walls. Stephen Miller doesn't just advise Trump. He built a machine, one fueled by fear, whiteness, and legal loopholes. And it's still running. It's just a little quieter now. So we all know the bigotry has definitely resurfaced. We can see that in the court dockets, the school bans, and the borders. Stephen Miller never left. He just sharpened his horns and put on a nicer tie.
Hi guys, this is Tiana and you're watching Tiana's React. So Stephen Miller said Donald Trump has plenary authority. That's total unchecked power over Americans' military. But here is the truth, guys. There is no such law, no such authority. And this right here is a textbook case of power intoxication. They are trying to rewrite the Constitution right before our eyes, and we need to talk about this. So let's dive in and see people's opinions to this. But before we move, please do well to like, share, and of course, subscribe to keep the channel moving.
It's not every day that I have a reason to thank Stephen Miller. So I thought I'd jump on here and thank him for giving me a reason to learn the word plenary. It was not in my vocabulary. So plenary. plenary means unqualified or absolute, meaning no restriction, no limitation. And Stephen Miller said the other day that he thinks Donald Trump has plenary authority, unqualified or absolute authority. Of course, then immediately after saying that, he kind of froze on the video, although he's still kind of like swaying and moving, but he froze as if he just wanted it to look like they had technical difficulties and they'd have to cut the feed. One can only conclude that he kind of regretted saying what he said, but yeah, that's what he thinks. He thinks that Donald Trump has plenary, unqualified, or absolute authority. Stephen Miller thinks that Donald Trump is a dictator.
Stephen Miller was one of the most powerful people in government when Trump was in office, and he'll be even more powerful if Trump is reelected. So maybe it doesn't hurt to take a look at who this man is. He was raised in Santa Monica, California, and became radicalized after discovering Rush Limbaugh and other conservative figures. Soon he began making a name for himself by being a provocateur in his school and frequently calling into Larry Elder's conservative talk radio show. His classmates say he was an attention-seeking racist who enjoyed offending people with his extreme views, but was never open to any actual debate. In a school where the nerds were considered cool, one of them said, he was still the guy that nobody liked. Just days before going into high school, Miller told his friend Jason Islas that they could no longer be associated because of Islas' Latino heritage. The conversation was remarkably calm. Islas told author Gene Guerrero he expressed hatred for me in a calm, cool, matter-of-fact way.
You've called the district judge's ruling blocking the deployment of National Guard in Oregon legal insurrection. Does the administration still plan to abide by that ruling?
Well, the administration filed an appeal this morning with the Ninth Circuit. I would note the administration won an identical case in the Ninth Circuit just a few months ago with respect to the federalizing of the California National Guard. Under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority.
Stephen? Stephen? Hey, Stephen, can you hear me? It seemed, Stephen, I apologize. It seems like we're having a technical issue. We'll try to fix that and get back to you after a quick break. Stay with CNN.
The president has plenary authority.
Stephen? Stephen? Hey, Stephen, can you hear me?
Why is he doing that? What does plenary mean? Full, complete, absolute. I think he's saying that Trump would have authority no matter what a judge says. You mean if they lose the appeal, they might just send the National Guard to Portland anyway and ignore the judge's ruling? Yeah. Oh, your surprise party's today. My surprise birthday party? Hello?
So we need to talk about what happened to Stephen Miller on his interview on CNN when he had a glitch, a complete malfunction. I know we're like looking at it, combination of maybe finding it funny, finding it so weird, what in the hell happened, but we really got to talk about it. Stephen Miller, in my unprofessional opinion, but I invite any psychiatrist or psychologist to weigh in, I believe he has psychopathy disorder, personality disorder. He's a psychopath. Some of the cruelest people in history, including you know who, with the mustache man, were psychopaths. And it's very telltale signs. Things like aggression, cruelty to people and animals, lying, property destruction, violating rules or the law. Most of the time you get busted at a young age. You've been absolutely cruel and hurt an animal or a child, right? But you can also be a genius like Stephen Miller. Okay, so he's being interviewed and he says a word he wasn't supposed to say. And all hell broke loose up here in his head. The word was plenary. He was explaining that the President of the United States has plenary authority. Unlimited. Unlimited. Not one thing, not one person, not one court, nobody can stop him. Now that's the goal of these mostly white men in the White House. They're thirsty to have complete unfettered control over legislation, over finances, over you and me, especially if they're minorities. That's their end goal. And they've made it all the way to the Super Bowl. Look at it that way, by making it back in the White House. So now they're strategizing to win the game. All these other people, probably psychopaths, narcissists, all kinds of personality disorders, very dangerous men and women. And they don't want anybody to know their strategy. They can't. It's top secret. And he spilled the beans when he used the word plenary authority. So then he went in his head. Let me tell you what happens in the head of a psychopath. The PFC and the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for processing fear and anxiety, this connection doesn't work, and it's thought to regulate negative emotions. Research shows a lack of response in the amygdala, insula, and hippocampus when psychopaths are asked to process emotional stimuli. Something happened in his head. He's wired differently. He could not process. He just knew. He went to high anxiety because he knew he revealed something that the other disturbed people in the White House were plotting secretly. But he couldn't think on the fly because his brain doesn't work that way. And that's what happened. That's what happened. You can go ahead and research all of that. I think you'll come to the same conclusions.
Stephen Miller just slipped up so bad on national TV that he stopped talking, freaked out, refused to speak, and he froze. They had to cut the program. Take a look.
The president has plenary authority.
Stephen? It seemed, Stephen, I apologize.
That man looked scared shitless because you just know someone is in his ear being like, what the fuck did you just say? Did you seriously just say that on TV? So he stopped speaking. He doesn't know what to do. At this moment, the guy is his fucking pants. Now, plenary authority, for those of you who don't know, it means complete, uncontrolled, and unchecked power. And he's stating that under Title 10, that's what the president has. That's simply not true. Nowhere in any circumstances does a U.S. president have plenary authority. It's what he fantasizes. He's only stating it because this is exactly what he wants the president to have. Which, obviously, no shit, from what we saw at the Charlie Kirk Memorial, his speech, he creams at the idea of unchecked power. I mean, that's what these people want. It's pretty bad. My name is Mercedes Chandler. This was interesting to see. I mean, I've never seen Stephen Miller brick up like that. Give me a follow or you won't see my face again. Thank you. Goodbye.
We can never forget about this clip. Stephen Miller freezes and stops talking until the CNN host has to cut away after saying Trump has plenary authority, meaning unlimited and absolute power. You can clearly tell that he was not supposed to say that, and the truth accidentally slipped out. Watch this.
The president has plenary authority.
Plenary authority is a huge phrase. As I mentioned earlier, it means complete, total, unchecked power. For Stephen Miller to say that on TV and go quiet is a major red flag. When your chief of staff uses language that dismisses limits on power, democracy gets very nervous. And the fact that he stopped speaking, just freezes entirely after saying that, is even more telling. He doesn't expand, he doesn't clarify, he just stops talking until the CNN host eventually has to cut away, assuming there's technical difficulties. It's obvious he realized he said something that he should not have said and did not want to be pressed about it. Remember, public servants are supposed to respect constitutional limits and the separation of powers. But Stephen Miller just said that Trump has unlimited, unchecked power and can do whatever he wants to because the law doesn't apply to him. This administration is the embodiment of every single thing this country was built to escape from. You cannot be pro-America and pro-Trump at the same time. It just doesn't work.
Stephen Miller just slipped. On live TV, he just said the quiet part out loud, that Trump has plenary authority. For anyone who doesn't speak legalese, plenary authority means absolute power. It's the idea that a president's authority is total and unchecked, and Miller wasn't talking about theory. He was defending Trump's power to deploy the National Guard anywhere, without governors, without Congress, without any oversight. And that single phrase, plenary authority, cuts right to the heart of what our founders feared most. They fought a war to escape a king with plenary power. They built a constitution that divides power precisely to prevent it. The president commands the military under civilian law, under Congress, and under the people. When Miller invokes plenary authority, he's not citing American tradition. He's citing authoritarian tradition. That's the language of rulers who believe the Constitution is a suggestion and not a restraint. The founders didn't bleed to crown another monarch in the future. They wrote checks and balances to ensure no man, no matter how loud, rich, or vengeful, could claim plenary control over free people. The founders warned us that the greatest threat to liberty would come draped in patriotism, preaching power without limit. Stephen Miller just confirmed they were right.
Yesterday, Stephen Miller said something he wasn't supposed to say. While debating a CNN host on Trump's authority to send National Guard troops into different states, Miller dropped the phrase, "Trump has plenary authority," and then just kind of froze up.
I would note the administration won an identical case in the Ninth Circuit just a few months ago with respect to the federalizing of the California National Guard. Under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority.
Stephen? Stephen? Hey, Stephen, can you hear me? It seemed, Stephen, I apologize. It seems like we're having a technical issue. We'll try to fix that and get back to you.
Stephen? Oh, man. He was most definitely not supposed to say plenary authority. This wasn't just a glitch. It was an accidental revelation. It's like catching someone whispering their secret plan when they thought the mic was off. Plenary authority. Let that phrase sink in. It's a legal term. But there is no law in the United States that gives the president plenary authority and absolute unchecked power. That's royalty talk. That's monarchy talk. That's the talk of a ruling class. You don't see that in democracies. You see it in kingdoms. And if Miller believed it so strongly he accidentally said it under pressure, what does that tell you? It tells you the idea of absolute power for one man isn't just in fringe theories. It's being whispered by Trump's own architects. So let this slip of the tongue be a gift Miller handed us, a peek behind the curtain.
White House Chief of Staff Stephen Miller is getting a lot of heat after he slipped up and said the president has plenary authority when it comes to deploying the National Guard, and immediately freezes and goes silent.
Well, the administration filed an appeal this morning with the Ninth Circuit. I would note the administration won an identical case in the Ninth Circuit just a few months ago with respect to the federalizing of the California National Guard. Under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority. Stephen? Stephen? Hey, Stephen, can you hear me?
Stephen, I apologize. It seems like we're having a tech.
Plenary authority is a legal term for complete and absolute power act on a particular issue with no limitations. It's interesting that no one is talking about this. While I'm someone who actually thinks we should clean up the cities, and I'm not very critical of the deployment of National Guards, at least for the reason that the Democrats are, I do think that it's very interesting to pay attention to the way Stephen Miller acted.
We have some major news that almost no one is talking about. Yesterday, during an interview on CNN, Stephen Miller suddenly froze. Right after he started talking about the alleged plenary authority that he and the White House supposedly have to deploy the National Guard. Now, if that doesn't freak you out, it should. He literally said, under Title 10 of the US Code, the president has plenary authority, and then he just stopped. Cut. Gone. CNN claims it was a technical malfunction, but since then? Silence. No statement from Miller. No clarification from CNN, and nothing from the White House. So what was he really about to say? Many believe this was Miller slipping up and revealing something bigger, something the administration doesn't want out yet. Because remember, Trump's team has been openly talking about the Insurrection Act of 1807, and even a Trump-appointed judge has warned that Trump could be laying the groundwork for martial law. This isn't fear-mongering. This is exactly how power is quietly expanded while the public looks the other way. Don't ignore this. If you care about democracy, share this video, comment what you think is going on, and make sure you follow for ongoing updates because things are about to get a lot more serious.
Under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority.
Stephen?
The president has plenary authority.
Stephen?
Oh, he fucked up. That wasn't a glitch. That wasn't like, oh, I'm in the Matrix. This is MK Ultra. They snap their fingers and their handler is not doing his job right now. He knew that he slipped up. He fucked up. He like, oh shit. We was waiting to say this part. We was waiting until Project 2025 was completely fulfilled. We was waiting on that one. Sorry, y'all. But yeah, now I gotta act like I'm frozen. Why the fuck? You're not, we're not dinosaurs. Like, we can fucking see you. We heard you. We can see you. That means the president has full or complete authority in a specific area of the law. Yes, that's limited to Congress and the courts, but they're trying to appeal it. And, you know, Congress is just letting them do whatever the fuck they want. Or they are doing whatever they want, and it's taking super long to get through to Congress because of certain things that they put through. Basically, that judge that stopped it in Portland, that's the stopper, and they're trying to appeal that. So they want Trump to have absolute control, you know, under the law.
Stephen Miller really said that the president has plenary authority. And I genuinely thought he meant to say plenty of authority, but it was actually a Freudian slip. That was basically saying the president is going to have complete and total control of the military and is basically going to be able to ignore all other types of authority. Like if anyone tells the president what to do, they're basically planning on ignoring any type of outside authority, any type of rules, any type of anything, because the president is just going to be allowed to use the military in whichever way he would like to use them. And the reason why Stephen Miller stopped talking after saying plenary authority is because literally he wasn't supposed to say that. He wasn't supposed to say that, but that's probably what they talk about behind the scenes. Like, oh no, the president's just going to have full and complete and total control of the military and is basically going to ignore authority. Like that must be a part of their plan or something because he just said that so freely. You know what I mean? And I know it was a Freudian slip, but that's just telling us that the president is literally planning on ignoring authority and then using the military as basically his personal power and doing whatever he actually wants to and having complete and total control while literally ignoring any other authority, Supreme Court, any outside place telling him that he can't do X, Y, Z. The president is basically planning on ignoring that and just doing whatever the fuck he wants to do anyway. So that's literally what that meant when he said the president has plenary authority. Yeah. That's insane to me.
Stephen Miller said the quiet part out loud accidentally and then appeared to glitch all of a sudden when he recognized how much of his foot he just put into his mouth.
Under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority.
Stephen? Stephen? Hey, Stephen, can you hear me?
Yeah, plenary authority is broad, wide-reaching, limitless power. He just came out and said Trump is an authoritarian. That is where his power comes from, despite the fact that the U.S. Constitution disagrees with him. We're supposed to be a country of checks and balances, and Stephen Miller wasn't supposed to put his foot that far into his mouth. Though seeing even Stephen Miller realize he effed up by giving the game away, and seeing him glitch and just go, was fun to watch.
Stephen Miller just slipped up so bad on national TV that he stopped talking, freaked out, refused to speak, and he froze. They had to cut the program. Take a look.
You've called the district judge's ruling blocking the deployment of National Guard in Oregon legal insurrection. Does the administration still plan to abide by that ruling?
Under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority.
Stephen? Stephen? Hey, Stephen, can you hear me? It seemed, Stephen, I apologize. It seems like we're having a technical issue.
That man looked scared shitless because you just know someone is in his ear being like, what the fuck did you just say? Did you seriously just say that on TV? So he stopped speaking. He doesn't know what to do. At this moment, the guy is his fucking pants. Now, plenary authority, for those of you who don't know, it means complete, uncontrolled, and unchecked power. And he's stating that under Title 10, that's what the president has. That's simply not true. Nowhere in any circumstances does a U.S. president have plenary authority. It's what he fantasizes. He's only stating it because this is exactly what he wants the president to have. Which, obviously, no shit, from what we saw at the Charlie Kirk Memorial, his speech, he creams at the idea of unchecked power. I mean, that's what these people want. It's pretty bad. This was interesting to see. I mean, I've never seen Stephen Miller brick up like that. Give me a follow or you won't see my face again. Thank you. Goodbye.
So guys, no law says that Trump has plenary authority. Not Title 10, not the Constitution, nothing. Absolutely nothing. This is how dictatorships begin, with one lie about total power. And when someone like Stephen Miller says it out loud, we can't stay silent. Well, if you've made it this far, thank you for watching. Please do well to like, share, and of course, subscribe to keep the channel moving. See you next time.